Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today you'll notice a slightly different format. I got back from Fan Festa yesterday, and I have many thoughts, many theories, many ideas, many things that are on my mind, and we're gonna go ahead with a new format today, so that we can, we're gonna recap Fan Festa. We're gonna recap some of the stuff going on with the channel. Recap some of the upcoming news and some of my opinions about it, and yeah, it's I don't know, I'm excited. So starting with Fan Festa, let's dive right into that. Straight up, it was the most fun that I've had in like a really long time. The people that I met were amazing. All of the fans were incredible. All of the content creators were just super kind. It's strange how, like, it's a convention for a game, but I came away from it with a lot of goals and desires to, like, be a better person in a lot of ways. So, like, for me, it was, I don't know, super exciting, super inspiring. Walking onto the floor, it was exciting, because, I mean, I love this game. I've always loved Brave Exvius, ever since I started. And, yeah, I mean, December, it's a jam-packed month for me as far as, like, stuff that I'm thinking about. First of all, this is my 2-year mark for playing the game, come around closer to Christmas time, but basically, I've been playing the game for 2 years. Downloaded it on a family vacation because everybody else was playing phone games or reading books, and I didn't have one to play, so I just tried Brave Exvius randomly and loved it, and have been playing ever since. This has also been 1 year since I started making YouTube videos, and thanks to you, thanks to all the support that you've offered, I've come a long way. I went from a nobody on YouTube, somebody who had been writing for Reddit, which is, you know, that was a great experience in and of itself, to someone who now has over 1 million views on his channel. We just passed that last weekend, over 5,000 subscribers, and just the best community I could ask for. So it's amazing to me that it's come this far, and then to kind of have all of that kind of come at the same time that Fan Festa weekend happened. It's been just a crazy week for me, and it's been awesome, and it's all thanks to everyone who's been so supportive. So anyways, about Fan Festa, that's what this is more about. A thank you to everyone out there first, but Fan Festa was super cool, and everything about it was just, the entire event was set up to help facilitate socializing, I guess, because everything is like group activities or things that you can sign up with other people. So, you know, we had these opportunities to hang out with fans, or to hang out, like, I think I probably spent the most time with Dat Cloud, Seven Heaven, because, I mean, how could you not? He's one of the most charming and personable people I've ever met, super positive. It was so much fun to be around him, his wife, and all these other people at the event, and that's honestly, like, my personal big takeaway. I'm a very people-oriented person. The news is all great. I mean, y'all have heard it by now. Y'all know the news of what's going on with some of the new events, some of the new things that they've teased or talked about, and all of that's great. That's not what I go for. You can get that through stream. You know, I went for the experience, and I feel like I really got it. I mean, it was so cool to me. And speaking of kind of some of the content creators, I mean, I had the opportunity to meet Claic, albeit super briefly, because he was the hot commodity of the weekend. Like, the poor guy was up and down for days and days on end. He worked his butt off for that event, and it was super cool that, you know, you meet him, and he's every bit the same person in person that he is on his streams. He's just 100% genuine, so kind, amazing dude. Everybody else that I met as well, Hal, you know, I first met him on the floor, and he was sitting there crunching numbers for Aurora Freevia with an equip bow materia, which I think is perfectly fitting for, you know, where to encounter Hal in his wild habitat. Evil Laughter was super funny, very playful, very fun personality. And so many other content creators as well that I ran into, who I couldn't possibly list all of them. It was just such a cool experience, and yeah, I miss it. Yeah, so that's that. another thing that's on my mind is kind of thinking about how I want to continue to grow the MeetMeOnMars channel from here going forward, because I got a lot of inspiration from these people that I hung out with over the weekend. And one of the things that was talked about was how I should probably put myself out there a little bit more. So that's why we've got a little bit more of this going on. And I was always afraid of doing it, not because I'm afraid of putting my face out there or I'm afraid of, you know, being doxxed or like any of that stuff. I don't really care. I really don't. I'm not that interesting. But it's because I always overcorrect for arrogance. Like, I'm always super afraid of coming off as like conceited or self-important or anything like that. And so I was always like, let's just keep my channel about the game and keep it about, you know, helping people to be better at the game. But what I realized when I was at the event, there were a number of people who would comment on like my YouTube post, or they reached out to me in other ways, and they were like, hey, I looked for you, but I didn't really find you, or I didn't know what you look like, you know. And I've done a couple of like stream recaps on YouTube. I do streams, you know, where my face is there, but I felt bad because there were a number of people who wanted to meet me but didn't have the opportunity, and that's kind of on me, honestly. You know, you could say that it's their fault for not watching a stream, or their fault for not watching all of my videos and chancing upon ones that have my face in them, but I do want to be, I think the bottom line is I want to dedicate more to what I'm doing for my channel, the community, all that other stuff. So that's something that you can hopefully start to see more of on this channel. That's something that is, you know, going into the new year, that's a resolution for me. Put myself out there more so that I can do more for people, because that's ultimately what I care about. I've done this. You guys can go back. You can go back to my first video, although I may not necessarily encourage it. You can go back to my first video, and it was because, and maybe I'm going to get off on a tangent here, but the first video that I ever made was because I made a claim online that said, you know what, in the face of what everyone else was saying, they said Gladiolus is a terrible unit, and this was when it was being released. And I made a post about how, well, no, Gladio's kind of amazing, and if you're struggling in the tank category, because Wilhelm was the only provoked tank at the time, I said, you know what, he can solo tank any fight in the game. And people were like, no, you can't, it's not possible. And anytime somebody tells me that something's not possible, I take it as a personal challenge. Like, I take it super personally, especially when I'm confident in knowing that it's probably possible. So, you know, that was the first thing that ever inspired me to make a video, and it was something that people really liked, and I continued in that direction. And it always was kind of like my personal mission, I guess, to help people feel like they can play this game and they can play it effectively, and that the units that they have can work. And I say it a lot, like, this game's not that hard. Like, that's what I say, because it's true. I mean, 7-star units of almost any variety can help you with many different fights, and so that's why, you know, my dedication has always been to highlighting a lot of these units and showing people unique or interesting ways that they can make use of them. So this channel was born out of me trying to prove a point, and that's what I hope to keep doing. And that's why, if anybody was on what would be last night's stream for Claic, Claic did a great stream. He recapped his experience of Fan Festa, and I encourage people to go watch it because it's extremely insightful. He went on a little rant, and I have to say that rant has kind of stuck with me as I've been sitting here thinking about, you know, what am I going to say about Fan Festa and the future of Brave Exvius and the future of this channel and all these other things. And his rant, he touched on a lot of things, but the thing that I love the most is that it's basically a darn it all the heck sort of thing towards, you know, people telling him this about, you know, oh, these units are garbage, or this units are this, or like, you know, play the game this way or the most effective way. Because I think he brought up a very important point about Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, is that a lot of people have turned to the point where they play the game for the gacha. They play the game for the units and for the summoning system, and that's why you see a lot of salt. And I think Claic's absolutely right, because ever since I stopped posting to Reddit. I basically go to Reddit for my news. You'll see a window here open, you know, with information from Reddit. But I don't post there anymore because I absolutely think he's right. People are so consumed with the meta, the most efficient way of playing and like the gacha and this and that, rather than just like playing it as a game. Like it's a game, just relax. And this was so highlighted to me when I was at Fan Festa because the environment was so positive. Nobody was complaining about the gacha. Nobody was complaining about Rainbow Rants. And maybe people were complaining in quiet, but overall the experience was extremely positive. And, you know, Katy Perry, we can talk about that right now. That was a huge surprise. That was a major surprise. You know, for me, Katy Perry, she's whatever she is. You know, some of her music I enjoy, some of it I don't care for. And I was like, you know what, this is super cool that they're going to include her in the game. Ariana Grande, same story. Some of her music I like, some of it I could go without. Cool that she's in the game. And so, you know, they played the trailer and I was like, oh, it's super cool. They have a trailer with Katy Perry in it, whatever. And then Phoenix and I were sitting like kind of close to the stage, off to the side. And they started to announce like, and we would like to welcome to the stage Miss, you know, and they start announcing that Katy Perry's going to come onto the stage. And I'm like, is this real life? Is this actually happening right now? I couldn't believe it. It was such a shock. And I look over and she's there, that blonde pixie cut and the strangely colored jumpsuit thing that she was wearing. And I was like, this is, I'm a little bit shook right now. I don't know what's going on. Very cool experience. And you know, I saw that she was genuinely trying to relate. And I know that, you know, people like Katy Perry, they're bought out to do these sort of things. It's very obvious. But she did her best to make people who came on stage feel special. Like she talked to them as individuals and asked them questions, and it was just very positive. And of course she's a bit of a diva. Of course, you know, she's whatever. But it was like such a cool experience to actually just be there for that. Especially when, you know, I'm sure people have seen since, you know, it's been a bit of a media stunt. You know, a lot of people are talking about it and it's kind of a big deal. And so I'm like, wow, this was a lot of fun. This was really cool. How special was it to be to actually be there for it? And well, I go to Reddit because I'm like, well, I wonder if there's more information, or I wonder if people have, you know, I wonder what the conversation is. And it's just pure negativity. And, you know, there are people who are a little bit more measured, of course. And, you know, I don't want to blanket everybody there as like kind of being the same way. But on Reddit, like, I was surprised at how upset people were. And, you know, this is my take on the whole Katy Perry thing, is that if it attracts new players to the game, that means Final Fantasy Brave Exvius will be around for longer. And I want that. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't care if putting Katy Perry in the game is what you have to do to get new players to play, because it works. I went to the comment section of Katy Perry's video that was released about this, and nothing but positivity in the comments. And I'm sure if I scrolled long enough I would find negativity, but it was overwhelmingly positive as I scrolled through it. People saying stuff like, OMG Katy, I love you, I'm gonna download the game just for you, like all of these things. And I was like surprised. I was like, this is super positive when you compare that to like Facebook comments or Reddit comments where people are super negative. And, you know, I'm pretty transparent. I'm the type of person who my attitude, my excitement, my emotions and all of that, a lot of that comes from the people around me. And so when I see these environments that are super negative, it impacts the way that I feel about things. And, you know, I compare the negativity of some of those spaces with the positivity that I experienced in person, and the positivity that you know, you can see maybe on YouTube, which is a platform that maybe not as many people were commenting on, because, you know, if a video goes out about Katy Perry, that's not going out to Brave Exvius players, that's going to Katy Perry fans. And so to see so much positivity about this, and like the people who don't play Brave Exvius love this, they think it's cool. And the fact that there was so much negativity from the player base about it, it really frustrated me. And that, I mean, that's the essence of why I don't really have anything to do with like Reddit anymore. Like as much as I want to, and as much as I wanted to continue to be the person who would help people to learn how to use units that they might have thought as being off meta or they don't know how to use, you know, I couldn't, because I take my energy, my feelings from my surroundings. It's like it was super hard for me to be there. So it was kind of frustrating because, you know, we'd see the same thing about the rewards too, which the rewards from Fan Festa for all global players are awesome. They're so very good. And like even people who were surprised, they're like, wow, these are actually pretty good, you know, surprised because Gumi's greedy or whatever. Part of Claic's rant that he did, what would be yesterday, it was tonight for me as I'm recording it, he talked about how being a part of the whole production changed the way that he thinks about this game, and I totally agree with him. Where, you know, there's this whole narrative pushed, you know, on some of these platforms. It's like, oh, Gumi's greedy, Gumi's trying to squeeze people for their money, Gumi's a money grub and this and that, and they're sitting on piles of money and they're loaded, this, that, and that's not at all what it is. Claic mentioned that backstage he was seeing one of the producers. He's playing Brave Exvius on his phone in between stuff, you know, because he's got to burn his energy or burn his raid orbs or whatever. And he asked him, he's like, well, don't you just get anything that you want? And he's like, no, I play for real too. Like, this is a game that I care about, you know. It's like a lot of little things like that. You hear about it, and it kind of solidifies what I felt when I was there. And it's that for the producers and for the people on the Brave Exvius team, they care about this game a lot. And you don't see these people rolling up in super nice cars, super expensive suits, or anything like that. Like, they're people like you and me who are doing something they love, or they should be doing something they love, and they're trying to make a difference for other people. And that's the sense that I got when I was there. And to hear Claic talk about that and say that, like, he felt the same way, that was, like, very affirming to me. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. This feels like, it feels legit. And it made me realize, like, when I came to that conclusion, I was like, no, I don't think it's Gumi. And this is controversial, and if you disagree, like, please, like, tell me in the comments. Like, we don't have to, you know, argue over it, but I feel like it's not really Gumi that's greedy, or it's Square Enix that's greedy. I really feel like it's the player base that's greedy, and I think it's because many of them play for the units, they play for the gacha, instead of immersing themselves in the game. And that's why I play with a lot of off-meta units. That's why a lot of times I'll incorporate units that people don't like, and it's because I just love playing the game, and it's so interesting and it's so complex. And that's something that Hal mentioned. He said, you know, no other game compares to Brave Exvius in terms of, like, the complexity and the unique and cool things that you can do with it. And he's absolutely right. That's what makes the game special. It's what makes it fun over and over again. It's what allows me to make a YouTube channel where I make a video on average like once every 2 or 3 days and not get tired of the game. And so that's, I mean, that's truly special. That's where I really love the game. So, and yes, one thing Claic also added as well that I agree with. He said that if there's anything that's unfair towards the community, like, I know that the unit of choice tickets was a real bummer, and a lot of that stuff was like the way that they announced it, and I guess like the fact that we didn't get as many and stuff like that, where he, you know, he pointed out if it's something that's unfair to the community, that, you know, he's going to back the community up. And I agree with that as well. If there's something that's being done to the player base that's patently unfair, I'm on board with, you know, speaking up about it. But it totally changed my perspective on I guess the narrative about it, because, and, you know, people might say I'm brainwashed, or that, you know, I'm some sort of slave to Square Enix or Gumi or whatever. But I mean, look at what Square Enix did with FF15. They weren't ready to release it. They took it back under development. They pushed the release date off to put out something that was more polished than it would have been. And I understand that there are many people who have their issues with 15, but the essence was that, like, they want to at least try and make things right. Or the better example is FF14, where the game was an utter failure at launch. Square Enix almost went out of business over it. It was such an unsuccessful monstrosity. And what they did is they got a new director, they took the game down, They reworked the entire thing. They fixed it. They didn't move on. They didn't let it be like a No Man's Sky that, you know, died in oblivion. They didn't let it be like other games like Ark Survival Evolved, which are like plagued with bugs or problems or controversy. They went back and they said, we're going to fix this. We have to make this right. And now it's like one of the #1 MMOs in the entire market. And that's something that, you know, that's to Square Enix's credit. That speaks well of that company. So anyways, I've probably rambled on long enough about that. That's just some of my perspective that's changed a little bit. I want to be more engaged with the community, with the game, put myself out there a little bit more. So, you know, if you don't like looking at my ugly mug, you'll probably have to get used to it. Because, yeah, I love this game, and being there at Fan Festa reinforced that. So, enough of that, enough of feelings, Fan Festa, and all that recap. Let's talk a little bit about, we touched on Katy Perry. This collaboration will be interesting. You know, if it's good, bad, whatever, I don't really care. We get a free 7-star unit, which means we also get a free 50% Moogle, because we'll get enough of her for her Super TMR. And overall, if she's good, bad, whatever, doesn't matter. It's a free unit. It doesn't hurt us to get her. And if it brings more people to the game who are fans of Katy Perry, then that's awesome. That's the sort of thing that we want to see. So overall, I hope this does very, very well. I hope it attracts new players to the game. I think that Katy Perry's, you know, if we have to keep going for pop singers, I think she's probably one of the better ones to pick. So we'll see where that goes. I look forward to it. You know, by the time this video is published, we'll probably already be playing it and experiencing it for ourselves. Now, the big thing that I think a lot of people are super excited are the prizes from the Fan Festa, which I loved being there, watching them compete, watching people, you know, go through the challenges to unlock these for everyone. Super cool. The one that's worth talking about most, of course, is the 10+1, or sorry, not the 10+1, the 10 unit of choice tickets that you can use on any of these units that are on the screen right now. This is probably the biggest prize they could have given us. It's super generous in my opinion. Like, I think this is awesome. When they announced it at first, they said, okay, the prize is 10 UFC tickets for Brave Exvius original units. And so we were thinking, the way that they said it, I was under the impression that it just meant that you could get like Malphase, Circe, Elesperus, and Beryl, and that was it, for whatever reason. So then they got up and they tried to clarify again, and they're like, oh, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius global exclusive units. And I was like, okay, so maybe it means those four, and also like Freevia, the summer dudes, Roberta, and ones like that. And then they got up and clarified again by showing this picture. And they're like, no, any global exclusive unit you are able to pull for with these unit of choice tickets. So for me, awesome. Like, I'm super excited about this. Global exclusive units are the coolest ones. I think most people, okay, I'm not going to generalize. I think a lot of people agree with that. Global exclusive units are amazing. And so the question is, well, who are you going to use your tickets on? My rule, and I discussed this in my other ULC ticket video, you always go for the unit that you want the most, the unit that you care about, because we've talked about this. You have to play the game your own way. The game is not that hard. We can make it work. It's pretty rare for it to be the case where you have to say like, oh no, this unit is no good in these fights or no good in these situations. Go for the units you want. My other recommendation is that you pull for limited time units only with these tickets. And the reason that I say that is because all the rest of them you'll be able to pull with any kind of UFC tickets. The additional benefit is if they are limited time, what kind of units? If they're limited time units, then you may be able to acquire a prism through the mixer, which they did confirm will be coming to the global edition of the game. So limited time units are a pain to pull. This will be probably one of the few to only times that you'll be able to actually pull like unit of choice style for these limited time units, unless of course like the Christmas ones come back, not this Christmas, but the one after that. And then you may have like a UFC option from a banner or whatever, but by that point you're not going to want them. Maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say. In my opinion, so if you're just going for the limited time ones only, the ones that you can't normally pull for or can't normally use UOCs for, I think that leaves us with Yoon, Chao, Kryla, Christine, White Knight Noelle, all of the Halloween units, so we have Lucius, Lilith, Demon Rain, GL Sakura, and crappy vampire Laswell, as well as Aang, who's also hidden up at the top. Those are the units that I would probably most strongly recommend that you use your tickets on. The ones that we do currently know about, the Halloween units, we know about all of them in their entirety. They're all quite good. I would say that Lucius and Laswell are probably my lowest picks among those, because they don't do anything especially unique. You would pull for them if you wanted them because of their sprites or whatever. Lilith is an excellent tank. She's basically what Bosch will be at 7 stars. Plus she has break resistance, which in my opinion is going to be more useful than Bosch's breaks on his kit, because you usually want stronger breaks. GL Sakura is a strong magic chainer, and Demon Rain is a strong physical cover tank who also has a ton of counters. So very fun units to play with, very cool. Now as far as the units that we haven't seen their 7-star kits for, we have to wait and see. I would imagine that, so Aang, for example, they may double down on his limit burst finishing. They may give him a cooldown finishing skill. They may give him a chaining skill. It's super hard to say what they're going to do with him. I think it would be cool if they gave him like W cast, and he could W cast his volley skills that he had, which were like these volley chaining skills that were a lot of fun to do. But they may not do that. I have no idea. We'll have to see in his case. Kryla, same story. I bet they're going to do more to just up her role as a breaker and imperiler. So who knows? She could actually be a fantastic unit. And she is a good unit now. As a 7-star unit, she could be even better. Christine, I would hope that they make her perhaps a more flexible sort of ice version of Transterra like she was before. Maybe give her some better options. But hopefully to keep her synergy with Transterra, because I could see them trying to like move her in a different direction. We'll have to see on that one. And Chow, of course, I mean, he was an amazing tank when he first came out. Like, he was unstoppable. He would counter damage by buffing himself with damage mitigation, and he was just super, super good. Probably still going to be the same case as a 7-star unit. The ability that he has healing magic and the ability to cast re-raise on himself and heal himself and like all these other things makes him an amazing magic tank. If I were to guess as to what they would do to an... okay, not what I would guess, what I hope they do. I really hope they give him Curaja so that he can do some really spicy healing, because then you could roll tanking and healing into a single roll, which would be awesome. I would also perhaps hope... I would bet they're going to give him like a magic mitigation cooldown skill like Awakened Rain has, but watch for Chow. He's probably going to be a top contender for magic tanking next to Awakened Rain, and in my opinion he's going to have a better support kit if it goes in that direction. Yoon is going to be probably a giant oddball. I have no idea what they're going to do with him. Ideally they're going to add an additional chaining move that he can maybe do. Other than that, I really don't know. We're going to have to see for them. Now, as far as White Knight Noel goes, I've thought about him a lot, because I've said this a whole bunch of times recently. Tanks are my favorite types of characters. It's my favorite role in the game. I love tanks more than anything else. Whenever I see a tank unit, I'm like, give me that. I have to have it. I love them so much. White Knight Noel is the same story. I pulled him off of like 3 tickets a year ago. Super, super lucky. And I used him a long time, you know, while it, you know, wherever a provoke tank was relevant. And the fact that he has 50% physical and 50% magic mitigation on his provoke, combine that with Zargoboth, who provides 50% general mitigation, and if you give White Knight Noel cover skill, dude, he's going to be the best tank in the game, period, as far as tanking is concerned. Of course, we'll have to see what his support kit looks like and if it synergizes well with anybody. In my opinion, with the rise of Aurora Freyavia and the Freyavia partner chaining, you could always use White Knight Noel to imperil Aurora Storm, because that's an AoE Ice Imperil, and then you could use someone like Ace for an AoE Light Imperil and just do some one-turn AoE damage that's just out of this world. As far as what they're going to do to a 7-star kit, my official guess is that they're going to make him like an inverse Mercenary Ramza, where he has a magic cover skill and then a physical cover cooldown skill. That's my official guess for him. I hope they do it like that. I think that would be super cool, even though he does basically the same thing as like the other tanks that I already have, which I have pretty much all of them. I think Demon Rain's about the only one that I don't have. I he's probably who I'm going to get just because I like him that much. My bet's that he's going to be amazing. But yeah, I mean, consider it carefully. Of course, rule number 1, go for who you want to. I think this is an extremely awesome gift from the producers. And yeah, I mean, that's about it, guys. I'm super tired because I haven't slept enough in days. I've been going. But, you know, I've been thinking a lot about my experience, and it's really been pretty transformative for me. To go to Fan Festa, to meet people, like the whole people thing, that's helped to change me a lot. Major shout out to the people who have inspired me in their own unique and in different ways while I was there. You know who you are. We hung out. You know, and I appreciate that so much. It was an amazing event for reasons beyond just the event itself. And so that's something that I would really hope that people are able to, if they weren't able to attend, that hopefully they can kind of get the spirit of, because it's something that is difficult to get through a live stream. You know, maybe you get the essence, like a little bit of it, but really amazing experience. So much respect for what the team does to produce this game, because it's not an easy thing for them to do. So, you know, it's definitely done a lot to help me wax my patience a little bit more, so that it's you know, a little bit more withstanding of some of the bugs or some of the other things that maybe I don't want. But it's not always what I want. Sometimes, you know, things like Katy Perry, that's going to be about what's good for the future of the game, and I'm 100% behind it. So with that, I think I've rambled enough. Major thanks to everyone who has made this year incredible. Thank you to everyone that I met at Fan Festa. Amazing experience. It's been nothing but a growing opportunity for me as an individual, as a content creator, as a player of the game, which is like where, you know, this all starts. And so major thank you, major shout out to everyone. If you like the format of this video, if you like seeing me, if you like hearing my commentary like this, please let me know down in the comments. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate the support. It helps keep me going, because, you know, I want to continue to do this for you, the viewer, and so I appreciate all the support that each and every one of you give me, and I'll see everybody in the next video.